Why are there so many motorcycle gangs?
Hey Rachel, great question. Hi everyone, this is Robb from Intended Consequences. On this episode of Pursue the Ride, we are going to discuss why bikers join motorcycle clubs, the different types of clubs, and some pros and cons that come with the culture. Hit the graphic. I'm going to start this video off with some disclaimer. Corinne and I are part of a motorcycle organization, but we aren't going to mention which one here for two reasons. First, we are not authorized to discuss our organization on YouTube. That's a publicity officer's job. In person, we'll talk your ear off, but we're not going to be broadcasting it. The second is that later in this video, we're going to talk some cons about being part of a motorcycle club. And while generalized, what we don't want is anyone misconstruing our comments as being directed towards our own specific club. Okay, personal disclaimer complete. Now, on to addressing the gang in the opening question. Honestly, I get why motorcycle clubs are thought of as gangs. Mainstream media has made a point of it with movies such as The Wild One and Mad Max, and then more recently on television with the Sons of Anarchy series. Yeah, I get it. On the big screen, the average person sees a bunch of rough and tough dudes with their tattoos and loud bikes and black leather, coated in skull patches, killing, running guns and drugs, and raising hell on the roads. And then, that same day, the average person sees a convoy of bikers and they look the exact same. So why not believe that they act the same way? Look, some motorcycle clubs will engage in criminal activity, but those are a tiny minority. And odds are that the line of bikes you see on the roadways is just an organized group of friends enjoying their passion for riding. The last thing I want to mention on this front-loaded information dump is about motorcycle terminology. There are a lot of names for a lot of different things, and some of it is generally agreed upon and some isn't. For the purpose of this video, I will be keeping it in the generally accepted category and use terms as if explaining it to someone unfamiliar with motorcycle culture. I'll also be referring to all organized biker groups as motorcycle clubs, for simplicity's sake. Okay, now that that's out of the way and some context is preloaded, let's discuss why anyone would even want to join a motorcycle club. If you think about it, there's some contradiction going on here. Bikers by their very nature are very independent personality types. We've talked about it on this channel before, how bikers embrace the thrill of the speed, wind, and danger. On the road, it's just you and your bike. And you know what I'm talking about. It seems that Hollywood did at least manage to portray this biker stereotype somewhat accurately. Anyway, bikers are independent types, but they're also social creatures too. We love the ride, pursuing the ride, nailed it, and sharing that experience with others who know what we're talking about. Aside from being social, there's safety in numbers too. Take whatever fears you may have riding your car around a windy road in the middle of nowhere and multiply it by 100 for a motorcycle. Just riding with one other person ensures that if something were to happen, at least there would be someone right there to help, call for help, or just know what happened to you. Beyond the practical reasons, humans are just social creatures in general. We like having a meaningful role within a group. This is the same reason all of us seek friendships with those who share similar interests. And if enough of you get together, ta-da, you've got yourself a club. Now, I'm not going to beat this dead horse any longer. I am sure you get the picture that people join motorcycle clubs for the same reason people join any other club. Okay, now that I've spent the last 5 minutes trying to convince you that bikers are humans too, let's look at how you, a new or potentially new rider, could join a motorcycle club. First, and this is hyper important, learn to ride your bike. Clubs ride in tight formations, often at speed using hand and arm signals, and legs too, on all different types of roads and all different types of weather. There will be an expectation that you can ride in these conditions, and it's especially important because if you cannot, you're needlessly endangering yourself and everyone else in the group. Sure, there are riders and clubs who teach pointers and refine skills to best suit the group, but general riding ability going into it is a must. Next, while you're learning to ride, pay attention to what bikers you see out on the road. What clubs are represented nearby and who do you relate to the most? It could be as simple as what type of bike you ride or what type of riding you like to do. The majority of clubs have an online presence, so looking it up shouldn't be too difficult. After that, meet them. See if you can just hang out with them. If they're cool with you, then you get to be what is referred to as a hang-around. This is a time where you aren't really part of the group, but they let you hang out so you can get to know them and they know you. things are looking good, then the next step is to become a prospective member or prospect. At this point, you'll become partially associated with the club and begin taking the steps necessary to become a full member. This prospect period can vary widely based on the club, but this is the time where you learn about the club culture, and earn your way to a full membership. Congrats, you made it! But Rob, I hear you saying, you jumped from lonely writer to full member, but I'm still just trying to figure out what kind of clubs are even out there. Okay, that's fair enough. Let's do it. Like I hinted at earlier, there are many different types of motorcycle clubs as there are different types of riders. You can figure out who is who by looking at the patches and colors on a rider's vest, or their cut. Now, zipping down the road and not really knowing what to look for, all these vests might look the same, but I promise you, they are not, and the longer you are part of motorcycle culture in general, the more obvious these differences will become. What patches a biker has on their vest is very important. Patches are supposed to be earned, and therefore can tell you something about who that rider is, where they're from, what they have done, and which club they're affiliated with. It is the motorcycle equivalent of a military uniform. With a military uniform, a knowledgeable person can tell what kind of branch of service you're in, what unit, what job, any advanced schooling, and even what wars you've participated in. My point is that patches can tell you a lot, which is why it's important that they are earned. So let's talk clubs. First is a riding club, or RC. Riding clubs are probably the least formal type of club. They may unite under a common group name and ride together, but outside of these rides they probably have very little interactions, and they also have the least amount of internal rules. The next type of club is a motorcycle ministry, or MM. Motorcycle ministries are religious groups who not only ride together but perform acts of service for other riding organizations and events. These vary greatly, but one of the more common functions are bike blessings, where anyone can bring their bike and have someone in the motorcycle ministry pray over it and you as the rider. Motorcycle association, or MAs, are the most formal on this list. Unlike most of the others, motorcycle associations focus on some form of community service or cause, which allows them to hold a non-profit status in the eyes of the government. To maintain the non-profit status, motorcycle associations have a lot of rules regarding membership and mandatory activities. This isn't a bad thing, just be aware that there's some legal formalities that will take priority in motorcycle associations. Motorcycle clubs, or MCs, is essentially everyone else. There are countless themes and variants out there that fall under the MC banner. There's also a fair mix of everything we've discussed up to this point. MCs often have chaplains for their religious members, they take part in community and charitable activities, they have financial responsibilities, and have their own rules. Now, I don't mean to make MCs sound basic, because they aren't. There's just really way too many to get into here. Now, one type of MCs I will mention, the elephant in the room when talking about MCs, are 1% clubs. There are plenty of opinions about 1%er clubs depending on who you're talking to, and I'm not going to hammer that out here. I don't personally know any 1%ers nor interact regularly with any 1%ers, so I don't really feel like I'm qualified to talk about them. If you're curious about 1%er motorcycle club member perspectives, I recommend checking out Sos the Ghost on Demon's Row. Links are in the description below, and I'll let him answer any questions you might have about the 1%er community. So if it isn't entirely clear, there is a hierarchy among motorcycle clubs, with the 1% clubs at the top and everyone else filtering in behind them. If you're a part of motorcycle club culture, that's just the way things are. All right, now let's talk about some of the other aspects of this culture that are positive and negative. So up to this point, most of the stuff I've covered is meant to share general knowledge on motorcycle clubs. For the rest of this video, it will be more about our opinions on motorcycle club culture, and I just want to make this distinction very clear. Normally I would start with the pros, but I'm going to mix it up and start with the cons. My first con is that all clubs have rules and bylaws. Man, there are so many bylaws. And I guess if you're younger, it isn't so bad, because the majority of your life up to that point has involved your parents or some other authority figure telling you what to do and how to do it. But for me as a seasoned adult, I don't really care for it, and had to do some real soul searching as if I wanted to stay with it. I understand why all the rules. A club is taking an outsider and molding them into a new culture, but it can get very frustrating. That leads to my second con. There's a boatload of etiquette and protocols in this new culture that you had better know, otherwise life can get painful. And I'm not just talking about interacting with one percenters either. As an example, just greeting another club member is a minefield. Still wearing your riding gloves? Fail. Wearing sunglasses? Fail. Shake hands? Yes. Bro hug? Probably. Non-handshake hand pat on the back? No! Don't you dare touch that back patch. See what I mean? And that's just an example. Oh, and with your new club might come a new set of enemies. Now, not all clubs have enemies, but there are some that do, and you better understand that. Most likely as a hang around and definitely as a prospect, someone will lay it out for you, but it doesn't change the fact that your new vest will attract attention, and it isn't always going to be good attention. Last con I'm going to list here is that violations and missteps of these cons will be punished, and it can be painful. I'm not just being figurative here either. Early on in your MC life, violations will be met with perhaps an explanation or an admonishing. But once your club thinks you know better, things can get uncomfortable. This is amplified outside of your club. For example, if you offend another club, or God help you if you offend a one percenter. The point is if you're going to take part in this life, you best follow the rules, otherwise you will be corrected. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I'm an adult, and everything you just said is really stupid to go through, especially if I don't have to, then you wouldn't be wrong, and I'm right there with you. And if we finish the video right here, I doubt anyone would want to be part of the MC culture. So let's start bringing it home with the positives. My first positive, and we alluded to it at the start of this video, is being part of MC culture is akin to being part of a family or tight-knit social group. The love of riding together, creates a strong bond between people. The need to belong to a group in general is equally as strong, and when you combine those two things together, there is a brother and sisterhood that is unmatched. As you adjust to the rules and bylaws and such, they become more second nature and fade into the background, which allows for those bonds to grow even stronger. My next positive is motorcycle clubs frequently engage in charity and community service type activities, which means you're not just supporting your new brothers and sisters, but also your community. Some groups are more focused and deliberate about this, but almost every club does some form of service, even the one percenters. Being a part of motorcycle club culture means that you're also supporting a good cause, and that's pretty fulfilling. My last positive is riding safety. I mentioned this earlier too. Being part of a riding group surrounds you with other bikers who have your back and can help in practically any scenario where riding solo could be problematic. Aggressive car drivers? Unlikely to be aggressive to a large group of bikers. Bike breaks down? Someone's there to help fix it. Can't fix it? Someone's there to give you a ride. Run out of gas? Get a ride to a gas station. The worst case, you get into an accident. Someone will be there to give first aid and call for help. It could literally save your life. Now, despite all these pros and cons and everything else, look, it is always preferable to ride with another person than to ride alone. And that's just motorcycle safety. It has nothing to do with motorcycle clubs, motorcycle culture. That's just a safety issue. So there you have it, friends. You could ride alone as a lone wolf. You could ride with a small, unassociated group of friends or Facebook group. If the club culture part of motorcycle culture appeals, do some research into what clubs are in your area and what they're generally about. Meet people from those clubs. Be a hangaround. Learn. If you like it, stick with it. If you don't like it, walk away respectfully. Some folks love it, and others prefer to avoid it. It's always your choice. And now you know. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And remember, keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you next time.